Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Professor Sistrunk, and I'm reaching out to the student body. Okay, students, now what I want to talk to you about is the final exam. I want to give you instructions on what you need to do to complete your final exam. As you can see, there are multiple students who will be going to take their final exam. You have the Linux Essential students who will be going to take their final exams, the Windows Client students who will be going to take the final exam, and also the Network Essential students who will be going to take the final exam. Now, where you have to take this final exam is, of course, the testing center. There's no wiggle room with this. You have to go to the testing center on the campus, okay? If you have any problems, you need to contact me ASAP because we need to talk about why you can't show up to the testing center on the day you will be taking the final exam. Your final exams, and you have to look at your syllabus, will be the last week. I'm opening that entire week up, so it will be the last week when you will be able to take that final exam, okay? So let's say, for example, you in the Windows Client Desktop in the last week is 10/7 to 10/20. Now, I don't know if that's exactly right because I'm not looking at the documentation. You have to do that. But whatever that final week is, you have to pick a day and register at the testing center, and then on that day show up. You cannot take the final until that day you picked. Make sure you don't go snooping around. So wait until the final day that you choose. Go take it within that week. It is the last week of the semester, so you okay. But remember, you have to get all your work done before you take that final. So whatever day you choose, make sure you completed all your assignments, because for some of you, the final will not even open until you complete all your assignments. My Linux students learned that when they took their final. If you don't complete everything, you cannot take the final. So make sure you do that. You will see in the email that I send you a location at the testing center. You just got to click on a link. You're going to click on a link. You're going to register for the date you're going to go take your final. The testing center is going to get your information. You're going to fill out the actual web document. The testing center will receive your information. Then I'm going to go down there and look at it. Now, how I know that you filled it out is because this will be your next discussion question. All you'll have to do in the discussion question is simply fill out the web document on which place you're going to go take the test. And then at the end of you completing that document, they will give you a copy, and you're going to take that copy and post it in the discussion question. You can take a snapshot of it. You can copy and paste it, whatever. I need to see it in this discussion question. And that's it. You don't have to report. You don't have to respond to no other student. You just have to post that in the discussion question. Be ready to take your final, but make sure you put this in the discussion question. This will be your discussion question next week. Wait to take your final in the testing center. Everything is recorded. Everything is documented. There's no argument or no debate, but make sure you do all your due diligence before you go to that testing center. For example, my Linux and my networking students, they're going to have to complete surveys and all those before they go into the testing center, because they won't even see their final exam until they complete everything that needs to be done. So there can be no excuses. Complete all of your work. And I'm going to keep letting you know about this. For my Windows people, you have some stuff that you have to do before you go into that testing center. Everything should be completed when you go take your final exam, so make sure you're on top of it, okay? Now, as you can see on my screen, I just have your classes here, but I am going to choose the Linux and the networking students. Once you come in here, you see the portal here. You just going to do the exact same thing. You're going to come in here, you're going to click on here, but there are going to be steps you have to do before you see the final, because you may have a password in here. For most of you, it will be a password in here. You won't be able to get into the test until a password is used. And the testing center has the password. You will just simply click on your course like you regularly would click on your course. Now, the testing center people, they know this. They've been doing this for years. So don't think that they don't already know what should be done. They've been doing it for years. So, and when you get in here, you're just going to come down here and click on your final exam. Now, you see this end of survey? If you haven't completed that before you get to the testing center, once you open this up, your time is running. So please make sure you do this survey before you go into the testing center so you'll be able to see your final exam. Because I have students call me from the testing center, Professor, I can't see my final exam. And I say, did you do the survey? Oh, they do the survey. That eats into their time, okay? You will see how much time you have on the exam. I don't want to say it on here because I got multiple classes I'm working with and they're under different time constraints. But your final exam, you will click on it and start taking it. People, be mindful. The testing center is looking directly at you taking that test. And they recording you taking the test. So don't do something you would not do when you being proctored to take an exam. These are proctored exams. So don't do it. Well, I'm just telling you, be honest at all times, but definitely be honest this day. Okay, so that's your exam. Now for my Windows students, yours is a little different because first and foremost, you're going to go in here and you're going to click here, right? Now, I'm about to give you a heads up. My Linux and my Network Essential students, they already know this. But here's a heads up for you. You are taking these exams right here, A21, A22, A23, A24. You have to take them because they're part of your course and they're part of your grades. But right here is something that's called A.3. If you take that all the way up to the final exam, I can guarantee you will pass the final exam with no problem. This exam is almost just like the final exam. So if you take this, you will have no problem with passing the final exam. That is A.3. A.3. So when you go into there and you take your final and you've been practicing with this, my expectation is you're going to pass the final exam with no problem. Remember, students, for the most of your final exam will be a practical exam, demonstrating the skills that you have in the class. And what else? So that's pretty much it. You're pretty much just going here. Okay, for my Windows students, here's another thing for you. Once you go in here and start getting ready to take your final exam, you know that all you have to do is click on class assessment. That is, class assessment will give you access to your actual final exam. So you're just going here and take it. So just make sure you know you're going to click on final assessment and you're going to be able to take your final exam. If some of you need to practice or see how this should be done, come meet with me in my office hours. I know some students are going to be like, oh, this is easy, Professor, I got it. But if it's any doubt, come meet with me in my office and I'll show you how to walk through this if you never have taken a final exam at the testing center. But just know this, the testing center is watching everything because they don't want any doubt about whether you did it correct. To my Linux students, to my Network Essential students, to my Windows students, be prepared for your final exam. Get everything done before you walk in that testing center. Check and see if you have surveys. Make sure you complete everything. I'll see you in the next video log. This is Professor Sistrunk.